We are now live. I am here today with Kat Lintott. She is the co-founder of an agency in New Zealand called Wrestler that is doing some VR and AR content for brands and organizations like the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. We're going to talk about some of that work, as well as her projects with dance, music, and myth, which was the one that definitely stood out most for me with the Maori peoples in New Zealand. And she's actually here with me.
Transport all the way from New Zealand.
Yes, she's a hologram. She's not real, but very convincing.
Yeah.
And we have to do a quick shout out to our friend Megan, who makes pinatas, and we both have her sticker on our phone because it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a
dean thing.
It's a unicorn pinata.
Yeah.
How can you not have it on your phone? We got a couple folks on the live hangout with us. Hello, Jason, and I can't see the other person's. Jason, seriously, Jason and Jason, do you guys plan this shit? I don't know. Anyway, so a little bit of background. You worked for AI making holograms, making people into holograms.
Yeah. So 8i is 8i, and they started in New Zealand. And I was one of their first employees during their comms and R&D content creation. So we basically invented a way to turn humans into holograms. So recording you as a full 360, looking inwards of a body, and you can move around. And it's a complete hologram, whether it's in VR or mixed reality. It's really cool. And I pretty much made it possible to make a CG human that usually costs like 30 million US, like 30,000, so it's like we're really democratizing turning humans into these CG models. So that was kind of my cutting teeth.
So you don't have to be Beyonce to have a hologram? Is that what you're saying to me?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. So New Zealand has a lot of VFX tradition there as well, right? I mean, not everybody maybe knows. Can you just say a little bit about the history of New Zealand with film?
So I think we're pretty lucky. I live in Wellington, which is where Weta Group are based. That's where like Lord of the Rings was filmed, The Hobbit, Avatar. We have heaps of Marvel films that are filmed down there. It's all like VFX stuff. So we have like the most amazing animators and VFX people and editing and filming. And so we've got this amazing ecosystem there that when they want to leave Weta, they also start their own companies, which is actually how 8i was spun out. So there's lots of cool things happening in coding and gaming and film and hardware and software, and also really great storytelling. So we've got this really great ecosystem down there. Magic Leap has a HQ, or like a content creation section down there. We're just doing a lot of stuff. Pickpop, which is a gaming company, is doing stuff there. There's heaps. So there's like this really great ecosystem, and everything's about a walking distance apart, so we can all collaborate.
You're making me want to come now. That's awesome. Oh, and I want to say, if you are watching and you would like to come on video with us as well, I just put the link to do that in the chat, and you can feel free to ask questions. We're going to do that in just a bit. Okay. So you're currently doing some work with the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra that's going to launch soon.
Yeah.
What is happening with that?
So I think one of the things we wanted to do is figure out, like virtual reality is also like 360 video, and there's also the immersive stuff. And I wanted to figure out a way to make a VR experience that people didn't, could do on their phones. It was pretty accessible, but something that you couldn't do in real life. And then one of the things is you can't like walk up on stage and like walk around 80 instruments, like people playing instruments on the stage.
Right.
So we basically worked with New Zealand Symphony Orchestra to do 5 different camera angles in 360. And we used the Omni camera GoPro. So it's pretty low budget, but it's turned out really good. And one of the things we did that was unique was we've worked with amazing Foley or sound capture audio guy, Chris Ward, and he worked on Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and he's a cool guy. So he did use a holophone actually to record it, and so the whole movement is like you can like move around and like everything changes like in respect to like where you're looking. But we also built into it a teleporting option, so you can like look to any of the other 5 cameras and teleport there at any moment in the whole song, which is was pretty labor intensive, and I haven't seen anything like it. And it's amazing. So you can stand up with the conductor and be like, oh, the trumpets are playing, let me go and stand with them. And then it sounds so different.
Yeah.
So it's just about like getting new people into the industry.
Yeah.
And it's a great way for brands to be seen to be innovative as well. So they wanted to get new people going to the symphony orchestra. So this is a way to get new types of, what are they called, customers? Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had any professional musicians? Like, I can imagine it would be fun to play with New Zealand Symphony Orchestra if you were like a trumpet player and you wanted to sit with the trumpets and have that experience.
Totally. I mean,
that'd be super fun.
I imagine that you could put your headset on and like play it. A local composer in New Zealand, Andrew Hagen, came into the office and had a go, and he was like, oh my gosh, I want the like music to be playing on the bottom of it so I can play with them, which is so cool.
Yeah.
And then also, if this goes well, I want to play around with 8i, so maybe record like a violinist playing, and you could actually stand in there with them and walk around, and then gamify it, even where you have like a game violin so you can play with them.
The rock band.
Yeah, pretty much like that, but with a real person as well. So there's different levels that you can play. Once someone if they like it more, then we'll be able to do more stuff.
I think there is
a gateway drug.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that media, there's this cliche, the media is the message. And I do think it's really, really true, because it shapes culture in ways that become completely invisible to us. Like, before radio, unless you were incredibly wealthy, your experience of music was standing on the front porch singing a duet with your second cousin, or learning to play a fiddle, and you didn't have any way to access music, and there was not much else to do, especially in the winter when the crops weren't coming in. So people that was their community, that was their social. There was so much more creation of music. Everybody that had even the least bit of ability would sing, at least, if not learn how to play an instrument with their family or with their village. And with the advent of radio, that largely went away because we became passive consumers of music instead of creators of music. And I really feel like VR gives us this moment where we can start to become creators again. It doesn't have to be so passive. It doesn't have to be so broadcasting. And I think there's obviously the symphony is just the zenith of performance and of skill. So yes, that's not going to be accessible to so many people, but having played in bands myself, at least in high school, like, there's an enormous difference in the experience of performing versus rehearsal.
Yeah.
And rehearsal is what you do 90-something% of the time. That is the experience of being a musician, right? So I just see an enormous potential for, like, when I see these music videos that are just like fancy music videos, I actually want to jam with the musicians. I want to build tools for people to rehearse, if not rehearse, but like have that sitting down and I want to play with them. And even if we give people sort of training wheels music experiences like rhythm matching games, like Rock Band, but maybe just a little step beyond that, which is giving people tools where it's impossible to make a bad sound.
Yeah. Or even like I've been talking to a friend about this, like creating a jam room, where maybe someone famous or not famous or someone who's really awesome, you go into a room and you jam together.
Exactly.
And you can even just watch them, but have that. I think I'm not musically great at all, but I really appreciate watching people create their own art. So if I can be in the presence with them, whether they're in New Zealand or wherever, that would be really cool. And then the other thing I reckon with music is what VR is going to be amazing for is you can like manipulate visual sound. So imagine if you could somehow have like these like airwaves, and then you like pluck it up higher, you could like start making art with sound.
Start morphing.
I think that's really cool. Yeah.
I'm gonna see if Gerlicke has any comments on this, because I know that you are a music maker yourself, and also a music visualizer. So please feel free to break in if you have anything.
Oh, I don't have much to add, except I feel like that's totally exciting as well.
All right, then. If you think of anything, please do break in. And
I was thinking that would lead really nicely into talking about flow a little bit.
Oh, yes.
Because I think music, you said, was like one of the easiest ways to try and get into that.
Yeah. Music is, so basically there's two places in American culture, and to an extent Western culture at large, where we're sort of allowed to get into a flow state and express some emotions. Maybe even like if an American man is going to cry, it needs to be like during sports. So music and sports are the places in which we have the ability, I think, to maybe do a little bit of a Trojan horse to bring some flow states to people in a way that they are most likely to accept without feeling like this is some creepy thing or it's super woo-woo. And so music is one of the most common ways to help people induce flow states, because it automatically has you, if you're singing, you are breathing more deeply. And you are breathing closer to the 6 breaths per minute resonance point that has some really lovely properties of aligning your respiration with your oscillations of blood pressure, which, anyway, there's a whole conversation on heart rate variability and how if you can increase somebody's heart rate variability, then they get all these really useful properties with the vagus nerve that allow them to regulate their emotions better, and their heart can respond to changes in the limbic system much more readily. Anyway,
that's amazing.
I can put some links in. There's
cool.
some really good hour-long talks by people who study heart rate variability that I will not attempt to summarize any further, but suffice to say that music is a very easy way to get people to breathe more slowly and closer to that 6 breaths per minute magic point of resonance. And you can almost enforce that with the music based on what tempo you choose. There's a lot of either dance music or trance music that is all centering around a certain beats per minute, because that's just humanly where it's comfortable to dance, or humanly comfortable to sing at that rhythm. Anyway, I just love that there are numbers that make sense in the universe, because that's how the human body works. That's where, for whatever reason, I don't know why it's 6 breaths per minute, that's the resonance point, but it just is.
That's cool.
And we, on average, walk at certain speeds, and on average, dance at certain speeds. So as long as you stay within those parameters, you're more likely to hit a flow state. And if you're dancing, you're moving your body and using your entire body, and making that motion is one of the easiest ways to get your body into a flow state. Basically, the idea is you want to give the conscious mind a place to rest, and music does that. You can put on your headphones, and because there's a melody that your consciousness can rest on, because there's perhaps lyrics, your conscious mind can just go and rest on that, instead of creating this inner monologue, which leads to rumination, and that's all intellectual. Basically, there's 2 states that we can be in. We can be in present mode, where we are observing all of the sensory inputs. That what am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I smelling? I'm breathing. Yes, I'm in this body. You can experience that moment of presence in your sensations in a moment, or you can go into deliberative mode, but you can't do both at once. So getting into a flow state is leaving the deliberative conscious mind behind and existing in the sensory the sensory experience of having a body. So
Cool.
it's a really big topic.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm sort of glancing off one edge of it.
Well, I just love that because, like, with the one of the projects I'm working on at the moment, my biggest goal in working in VR and mixed reality is that I want to create content that empowers people to come back into the real world and feel really confident with whatever they do, pretty much empowering people. And one of the IP, so at Wrestler, we're making our own IP, as well as advertising stuff. So I'm making this dance game experience with a woman called Lauren Taylor. She's an amazing creative in New Zealand. And we came up with this idea of almost like a dance flow state, which combines visual cues, audio cues, and movement to connect the body with the mind. So that's why I'm so fancy.
Tell me all about it.
So basically we wanted to do a really female-focused experience. It's definitely not for females only, because every guy I've told is like, oh, but I want to try it too. So it's like, yes. But the character, so it's about the fact that there's a lot of forgotten goddesses in the world. And a lot of the people that, well, a lot of like the myths or gods are kind of these male developed narratives. And so we wanted to bring forward all of the forgotten goddesses of the world in a beautiful VR environment. So we drew from their inspiration of, there's goddesses of courage. A lot of them are goddesses of wisdom and death and the underworld, or of the sun. It's like there are so many inspirational feelings that come out of those. So we wanted to embrace those and create a game where you awaken in a goddess. So you awaken these goddesses, and we're designing the dance and the visuals and the audio to move with them. So it's about dancing with them, and hopefully in the VR experience you kind of get lost in that, to a point where you fulfill your courage quota almost, and then you can move on to another goddess and awaken the inner goddess of wisdom, or whatever we do. So that's kind of a huge project focus of mine at the moment. That's in pre-production.
That sounds like a very large project.
Yeah,
actually.
It's going to be amazing though. And what my creative partner, she is really knowledgeable, and she's been studying like dance and movement through connecting her body to her mind, and we're studying like the ideas of PTSD and how do you do those visualization like projects where you could do podcasts where you visualize a hope journey. So it could be like 45 minutes where you just put some headphones in and it walks you through a whole journey to get to hope at the other end. So looking at combining those methods as well.
Yeah, I've seen, so it connects back actually to what we were just talking about with heart rate variability.
Yeah, totally.
I will definitely put the link for anybody who's interested, and I'll send it to you as well. So heart rate variability is becoming this really good proxy to measure whether somebody is able to regulate their emotional response to something. Yeah. So PTSD is an example of people who have experienced extreme trauma often can't regulate that. So some stimulus in the environment will trigger the somatic memory of what happened, and their whole body will go into this triggered mode, this stress, fight, or flight mode. And you would think, so let me just define what heart rate variability is. It is the distance between the heartbeats. And you would think that heart rate variability being low would be good. You would think like a heart that's just like a metronome would be the heart that you wanted, but it turns out that a heart that can respond with millisecond precision to whatever is going on in the body is actually what you're looking for, because what you want is constant blood pressure. So if the heart can adapt really quickly to maintain that level of blood pressure, that's actually the thing that you're optimizing for. Right. So what you want is a heart that is very, very flexible. So heart rate variability being high is an indicator that that body can respond very quickly and very well to its environment. So there's a graph of someone who has suffered PTSD, and their variability is like this tiny little scribble. And what you're actually looking for is this like massive deviation in the distance between the beats.
Yeah.
So you can actually score how well your experience is doing by hooking your playtesters up to a heart rate variability machine, because from when they start to when they end the experience, you should see a meaningful change in their heart rate variability. So that's a way that you can measure how well you're doing.
Well, like for this one, I really want to be able to track. It's like a fully immersive VR experience where it's like room scale. I definitely want to be able to track hands at least, but maybe hips and feet. So maybe, you know, another little take on to the heart won't make any difference.
Yeah, I mean, you can, I think Apple Watches can do it. There's even, you can measure it resting. So after they've taken everything off, you could just have them sit down. So you could measure their resting before and after, and that would be fine. There's some really simple apps on the phone. One of them even just uses the camera, and you literally put your finger up to the camera, and it tells you, oh, someone's calling. No, thank you. Greenville, South Carolina.
Cool. About the camera.
Not Greenville? You don't have like a
I don't know
love for Greenville, South Carolina. No one knows Greenville, South Carolina. So yes, I think it's really exciting to know that you can actually measure what has sort of been considered a little bit woo-woo. You know, like, oh, meditation. Yeah.
Which is not woo-woo anymore.
It's not woo at all.
Thing, which is cool. Like,
it's getting there.
Yeah, it is getting there.
It's getting there. And I think is when you can put a sensor on someone and show that what they are doing, because you can't really see it in the mind, even our most advanced imaging is still pretty primitive and figuring out what's going on in someone's brain, what thoughts they're having, or what
I think
what metabolically is happening, what the unconscious mind is doing.
I also think what's cool about this particular idea is that it's a game or a story that anyone can do. So if you think about someone who has PTSD or who might struggle with anxiety or whatever it might be, if they feel like, oh, I have to do a particular treatment or go and see a psychologist or something, that's a barrier. Whereas if you just give this to everybody, because everyone needs a top up, because everyone has anxiety. Do you know what I mean? Like it's making it more accessible. So looking at what content can do on a general scale to make everyone feel a little bit more confident is kind of what I think is really cool about this medium.
Oh, I agree.
And that like brings into like the gaming aspects, which there's a lot of games about shooting and horror, and that's cool. People can totally make those, but I like really want to encourage people to explore the other types of stuff that can be made, because it can still be super adventurous and exciting, just in a different way. I like
to say to as many people as possible that if we only make Halo shooter games and horror movie things, that we are failing to explore the full potential of the medium.
And because we have our fingers in VR now, like with leg motion, you don't have to just trigger things or pick things up. You can actually do movement, and so it just opens up a whole new world. Can I say about the Stanford research? I just discovered this Stanford research on superhero activities in VR. And basically what they found is that if they put someone in a VR experience and they were the superhero flying around and they went and saved a kid from something, and then they came out of this experience, they were more heroic in real life than they were if they didn't save this kid through a superhero way, method. So I think it was like helicopter fly in and swoop and save, or fly in and swoop and save. Yeah, and the heroes who were flying in were more heroic in real life afterwards. So I think what we can do is like, how do you build in those little trigger points that make people feel courageous, and therefore it'll carry through. I think that's really
Yeah.
so cool that it's like legitimately scientific.
I think this is most likely Jeremy Valinson's lab at Stanford. It may be somebody else.
I can actually just put the names
The
out.
VHIL, the Virtual Human Interaction Lab.
These ones.
Valinson, yeah.
There we go.
It's Valinson's lab.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hear this criticism of virtual reality that, yeah, the last thing we need is another technology to make us even less connected to the people around us. And I feel like I understand why people are saying that on one hand, because a lot of the content just feels like it's same. It comes from films, it comes from gaming, and now you are completely strapped into a headset and you're.
I think the easiest. I mean, it's the easiest thing because games are built in engines, and engines is what drives VR, right? Like you have to put anything into like Unity, for example. So I think it's easy to pretty much pick up a game that's already kind of built for a game engine, and put it in a VR engine. Just very like pretty much it's the same thing. So I think that's why we've seen a lot of it at the moment, and it's the stuff that's known. So it's just like we've got to get through this.
Right. And I think we're basically in the silent film days of VR.
Totally.
I feel like the thing that's going to massively change it is getting full body tracking, getting proper hand tracking. Because the sorts of experiences that you can then enable are so far different from first-person shooters and car driving games, and they just do start to look like these dance games and music games that just would not have even remotely been possible. And it's my belief, and the reason that I got into VR is that being connected to your whole body, it actually sort of helps to degauss your brain. When you're in this deliberative space, in this like full agency space, you just at the end of it, you're just tired. And I don't play games because they're addictive, and I feel worse when I'm finished with them than when I started, at least a lot of them. It's not universally true. But the VR experiences that I'm interested in creating and talking to people like you, because you're creating, are the ones where you actually are better at the end. They make you more social.
Totally.
They encourage pro-social behaviors.
So you can come back out into the real world, take that off and go, you know, like instead of going, oh man.
Yeah.
You know, like that reaction is so important.
There's so many other things, and you know, basically all of the VC companies are built around these metrics that are around addiction, and gaming is all built around metrics that are around addiction. How often do people come back? How long do they spend in it? And there isn't anything in those metrics that captures, is this person a better person when they get done? Do they like that they spent that much time in it, you know? And I think VR is a medium that has a potential to create its own brand new metrics that really do answer some of those questions.
Which is so exciting. It
is super exciting. It feels like heart rate variability. That could be your metric. You could be saying,
you should totally build it in. I can advise all the VC funds and be like, you must add this to your
I'm pretty sure there's a venture fund here in town, Jazz Partners they are the sponsors of the XTech conference. They're the sponsors of the upcoming TransTech conference. So if you want to check out a VC, they're not paying me to say this. I just happened to notice that they sponsor all the conferences that I want to go to. So you get some shout out for that. Okay, we're gonna run out of all the time before I can talk to you about all the things that I want to talk to you about. So let's talk about the Maori experience. Tell me all about that.
So in New Zealand, our indigenous culture is called Maori. Te Ao Maori is the Maori culture. And basically one of the main things that they are really good at is oral storytelling. And another one of the hard things about their culture is that they don't want to take the stories that happened in their marae, which is a meeting house or a meeting place, away from the location. And so a lot of the elders are not allowing these stories to be recorded or passed on outside of these locations. And I think it's the same in the Aboriginal culture. You have to be part of the tribe in order to even be told these stories, which are amazing stories. And so we're trying to figure out a way to capture these so that at least if you visit these locations, people can be immersed in the environment, even if the elders have passed, we still capture the stories. So in the marae, the meeting house is actually called a wharanui, and inside the wharanui it's covered in these amazing wooden carvings called whakairos, and each carving has a myth that is attached to it, which is basically a story of one of the ancestors. And so what we want to do is capture 6 of these whakairo stories, or korero, and put 6 teams on 6 different whakairos and experiment what it looks like to recreate them in virtual reality or mixed reality. And that's pretty much what we know. Did that help, like, backstory enough?
Yeah. Are there any of those stories that they have made, like, are there any that would be public that have been recorded or released that
not really
they're comfortable with people knowing or telling?
So the one that we are talking about is Te Tahi o Te Rangi, and it is one that I'm not sure if I can talk about it now, but it's an amazing story, and it's a lesson. You know, it's like one of those passed down the generations to teach the young kids growing up to be, responsible, moral, ethical, treat your peers right, all of that kind of stuff. So, but they're amazing. They're like the best stories ever. So it doesn't make sense to just lose them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are they, like, tell me more about the value that they have around place and tribe, because it's something that in a lot of ways we have lost, especially in Americans' culture of, obsession with independence.
I think, I can't really talk too much to that specifically, but I do think that in New Zealand, the Maori culture has really thrived. They're starting to really build up. People are really scared to lose the culture. And so I think it's more around rallying people to start embracing what our like native culture really is. Talk in the Te Reo Māori, which is the language. Get people to understand what the cultural interactions are, and integrate it into business, integrate it into storytelling. And I don't think it's and the Māori culture is so good at pioneering this internationally because they've got the best rights in the world. They're not perfect, but they are pioneers in this area. And I think American can take some really good lessons from them in terms of what are Native Americans, how they treated, how can we bring them into this new technology to better their storytelling. I think someone was talking to me about the fire. What was it? There's this, please tell me if I'm going to get this wrong, but I don't want to say it wrong. But someone was saying that there was a Native American tribe that the elders all got around a fire, and whenever they were making a decision, the fire represented the next 5 generations, and so they never made a decision without the fire representing these next 5 generations that would affect the fire, and that was the whole decision making of the whole tribe. So trying to take those lessons where we bring those lessons from them all the way through to how do we communicate those to the next generations and keep those stories alive and keep those lessons that obviously worked so well. I think I went on really weird. Sorry.
No, I think that it is really important. And this isn't specific to virtual reality, but I think we're in this interesting moment where our technology has sort of outstripped our culture's, our culture hasn't had time to really understand the effects of social media and the effects that our economic choices make on someone halfway around the globe. Yeah. But that is the reality. Mm-hmm. The things that we buy and do on an everyday basis really do impact everybody on the planet. And we probably have the ability to talk to anyone on the planet that we wanted to. Mm-hmm. And the whole 6 degrees of separation you even know somebody that probably knows somebody that knows somebody.
Yeah. New Zealand, it's two. It's like nothing.
You don't even need LinkedIn. LinkedIn NZ is just everybody is a second degree contact. But we culturally are still in this place of I do everything by myself. If I ask for help, somehow that diminishes my accomplishment, and there's just a lot of toxic individuality.
Yeah.
So
it's not what I'm into.
No, not at all. There's difficult things about being in a tribe as well. I mean, if your father decides who you marry, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm glad that we left behind.
Yeah.
But can we learn from those tribal cultures about what they do well still today, and sort of let the pendulum swing back to a more gentle place? That
well, I mean, I do think that everyone in society now is craving community, which does kind of bring the Facebook thing into a good topic to talk about. So today, Facebook launched their social VR spaces, where you can hang out with like 3 other people in any 360 environment, which is kind of interesting. I guess that's why they bought into VR in the first place, is so that they could have the VR platform of social media.
Well, they own the whole map, really, which is problematic. I mean, I don't want to get too much into the whole issues of the economics of Facebook and how incredibly difficult that makes things for everybody who isn't Facebook. But my concern about them is that, in the same way that I'm just concerned that they're going to lack the kind of authenticity that it's going to take to really be successful in this, in the same way that, the Walmart happy face, which you probably don't have Walmart in New Zealand, aren't you lucky? But the Walmart chose this branding of this happy face, and it just came off as so fake and so plastic. Yeah. Because nobody at Walmart's happy. They're getting some bargains, they're doing their shopping, they're buying some Hamburger Helper and Band-Aids, but nobody's happy to be there. And Facebook is sort of I can't believe the degree to which I feel worse when I get off of Facebook. If I'm on there for more than half an hour, when I shut it, I go, oh, God.
Yeah. You kind of get trapped in the scroll.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. You get trapped in the scroll. So I worry, especially with their statements that they made today about only supporting happy expressions. There's a world of difference between.
It's like they're now controlling your VR emotion.
Yes. There's a world of difference between designing an experience to want to create a delightful, joyful, happy experience. That is a fine goal. But restricting my ability, limiting me so that my avatar literally doesn't know how to furrow a brow or angle an eyebrow. I mean, I'm not going to read as me.
Yeah, it's kind of just they didn't have time to do it yet. So that's probably why they haven't.
Sure.
Maybe.
Sure. And everybody has to start somewhere. I don't fault them for that. Yeah. But it is incredibly concerning, and it feels a little bit like an episode of Black Mirror if they just never get around to
Facebook, just add a frown. Easy.
Yeah, they do have the angry face and the emoticons now. So, but they were, their brand was the for
that's true.
so long, and they finally maybe have decided that being able to put a sad face when your friend is like, I had to pay $12,000 in taxes. That's not so appropriate. So we just didn't have a way to offer support to people in that little one-click fashion until recently. Hopefully that will be indicative that they've gotten the message that it's not okay to just put on your smiley face, your all the time. But anyway, I'll be tracking that closely. So
it's interesting in that.
Totally.
Shall I quickly talk about Snapchat?
Yeah, let's talk about Snap.
So you may have seen that Snapchat also released their new, it's like augmented reality, but for like places. So instead of tracking your face, it can now track the ground. And what's super exciting about this is that you can kind of do this with the prefab. I always forget this. It's like the Tango technology.
Yeah.
Prefab. Fablet 2 Pro. Anyways, one of those names. So
we need a dice with buzzwords.
Yeah.
We can just roll.
Yeah. So now, but they've been able to track the ground basically with just a camera, which no one's been able to do.
Inside out tracking with a mobile phone camera is pretty exciting. So
can I try
it around? Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so why don't you put, this is not going to work.
Well, it's not going to work?
Because it'll reflect.
Yeah, just push it really close.
Okay, so.
We can see it.
Okay.
Lift it up just a little bit.
So I don't know if you saw that.
Push.
Just got a little higher.
Right there.
So now.
Okay, cool.
So now I'm like, I don't know if this works because I didn't track.
You can't see the floor.
Oh, can you see
there we go.
Oh yeah, you can
there
see.
We go.
So I'm like, it's like seeding these little.
She's planting roses on my floor.
Yeah, and I'm not going to show you any more of this, but basically what it does is I can like take the phone up and I can walk over them, and it actually it's like tracking them in 3-dimensional spaces, which is crazy. And I can move the camera away and then come back and they're still there.
It's like a HoloLens.
Yeah.
AR kind of
but
experience, but with your phone.
Just one camera, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's supporting like
really cool.
You don't even have like the craziest brand newest.
I don't have like the sensor, which is what the Tango technology can make it do.
Right.
So now Snapchat's pretty much like made the Tango technology kind of not. You don't need it.
Good.
Yeah.
Take that, Microsoft. What kind of stuff would you build with that, or what excites you about the AR space? Because I'm honestly, I gotta admit, I'm all into the VR, and I've played with AR, but I don't have any useful or interesting thoughts about it.
I think for me, like I've been living in the world of VR for a long time, so I definitely am in the same boat as you. But what I do like, every time I try and make a VR experience, all of the holograms or CG assets will be translatable to a mixed reality environment. So if I decide I want to dance with the goddess in this room instead of like in this amazing surreal environment, I could do that. Or maybe you and I could dance with the goddess as well, so we could have more of a group experience. And I think that's
what a goddess dance party for my birthday next year.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's a good goal.
That is what I want in a week.
Yeah, it's so it's in 3 weeks, but we can do it a year from now.
Okay.
If it's not ready this year, that's okay.
Yeah, so I think what mixed reality is going to be really good for us specifically is museums and classrooms and shared experiences. So virtual reality is definitely an individual experience, but mixed reality, you can play games with someone else. You can share like if you have like a room like that has fish swimming around you,
Mm-hmm.
you could be like, look at that fish, and you'd be like, wow, I can see that fish, whereas in VR you can't do that. So I think it's more of a social interaction, which is going to be the future. Like everyone says that VR is like 30% mixed reality, 70% to the future, which is totally true, because my like dream scenario is that I could make my mixed reality glasses be virtual reality if I wanted. So yeah. Did that answer the question?
Sure.
I have a question.
We did, but we wandered away from it.
Yeah.
I think I am interested in building 2-player VR experiences, because I feel like a lot of what would be super fun is that you could be in New Zealand, I could be here, and we could do a thing together.
Yeah.
And when I've talked to people who haven't even put on a headset ever, but I'm explaining to them things, they're like, oh my God, could I do that with my brother who lives in Ohio? And I'm like, I sure hope so, because I don't know. I think our technology does need to figure out ways to connect us more with people.
I think it will. Like you can do that now kind of through chat rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's the one where I can't remember the name of it, but you can go in and play like ping pong or whatever with anyone.
Rec Room.
Yeah, Rec Room.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's cool. But what you can't do, you always have to go through the network. You can't just like have 2 headsets here and play in the room together. Even if you do play in the room together, it's going through the internet. you know?
Yeah. And there's definitely some latency issues. I met a new friend at GDC who's a network engineer that I need to get on here to talk to us the real deal stuff on what it's going to take and how far we are, and how much of this is pie in the sky until we have real broadband or something. Like, I just don't even really appreciate where the hard problems are yet. But I do know that sound is still difficult, even if you're just doing it on your same headset. That morphing sound
with two
and feeding
people.
it, even with just one person, if you're morphing the sound, like Within did an experience called Life of Us, that they modulate your own voice to you. So when you're in the underwater realm, they make it sound like you're underwater, but it's your own voice. So there's always going to be some latency because you're not even hearing your voice through your ear, you're hearing it through your bones. So it's incredibly fast. They had to do there's almost like an uncanny valley of sound, where if you make it just a little bit delayed, then it makes you not want to talk at all. But if they delay it just a little bit longer, then your brain goes, oh, okay, that's not me that's doing that, and I can accept that sensory. But when it's right on the edge, there's actually some military-grade noise canceling, like crowd canceling technology that will record the sound that a crowd is making and play it back at them with that delay, and it actually silences everybody because it's literally unpleasant, like physically unpleasant to continue to talk, which is creepy. It's real. The military has made a weapon out of it.
No, I've definitely heard of people. There's these it's like a targeted sound speaker. It's like a targeted speaker where you can be like, I'm gonna insert a voice into your brain. But no one else in the room will be able to hear it except you. I really want to try it.
It would be such a good
Anyone wants to
party
show
trick.
me the thing? I would like to try that. I've heard so much about it. But
Sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to push us along. One more topic, the Women in XR Fund that you launched at VRLA a few days ago. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I went to VRLA last week, and Martina and Malia, I haven't met you, sorry, launched Women in XR. And basically what it's about is getting all these women together who are working in VR and mixed reality and augmented reality to support each other in growing companies or making content and, having good diversity in the industry. And the VR Fund, Marco from the VR Fund, super influential in this area as well. He's not going on panels that are not equally balanced with diversity, which is amazing. So please, other guys, get in on that buzz as well, because it really helps us get more good opinions, balanced thoughts in the industry. And so the group is about encouraging that, but also getting sponsors to put money in to then support women co-founded companies or projects and actually help prop them up with funds. So it's pretty amazing.
It's very exciting.
I think if we can get more people signing up, women and guys, and then we'll figure out what's going to be the best approach to it and really just support each other is pretty much it. Also, Women in VR Facebook page is awesome.
Yes.
I read a lot of stuff on there, and it's very diverse. I love it. Those are the two coolio woman things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was reading a bit about it. It sounds like they're very much figuring out what the funding model is going to look like, but it sounded like there was at least discussion or potential for funding projects that didn't have the VC sort of 100x expectations of equity. And
I can't comment
fully
on those. But I think Martina would be a great person to come and talk to you about that.
Is it womenxr.com?
Womenxr.com.
Womenxr.com. Okay, go sign up for the email newsletter.
And then
and fill out the form. I filled out the form. You can fill out
It's
the form.
really easy.
It's very short.
Doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, good. All right, so we just have a few minutes left. Okay, what's one thing that you believe about VR but you can't prove it yet?
I truly believe that VR can make people more confident in reality. I think it's got a huge potential for that. And that's my whole goal, is to make experiences, games, films, music, interactions, but that like really fills you up, fills your soul up, so that you come out and you can like public speak, or you can be more confident at a party or at work, or just feel more comfortable in yourself. I truly believe that it can do that, because I felt that. So I just want to like get it out and have other people feel it too.
Yeah. It sounds like you're already building things that are doing that.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, I'm the kind of person that just has to get stuff done, because otherwise no one else will do it, and so I'll just do it. Or someone else can do it, I can do it too. So
yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
What's the best way to follow your work and to reach you?
Wrestler.nz. Also, one thing, mainly Wrestler is actually an advertising company. And so we do a lot of VR work for our clients who are trying to get into that more innovative space and try new things. So that's one area. And then we're trying to develop our own IP. So we have a few projects on there. So do follow that on our website. But also my Twitter is... Actually, I'm more of an Instagrammer.
Are you an Instagrammer? Okay.
But my Twitter's more VR focused. It's just Kat Lintott. It's really simple. KATLANTOTT. And then Instagram is a bit more personal, which is Catherine D. Lintott. But I can put those on the thing.
Okay. I can link that up in the notes as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or just email me. Like, I'm on our website, my email's there. I love talking to people. If you're passionate, I get passionate, and then we have really good conversations.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
I didn't actually give the back history. We met at a conference called Dent in Sun Valley, Idaho a few weeks ago, and sat down and just sort of, I love the conversations where you just met somebody and you're sort of like sitting there screaming at each other because such goodness.
Yeah. And it was loud.
And it was loud. And there was music in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up. Please do reach out to me on Twitter at Crystal D. Beasley, especially if you have any suggestions for somebody you would like to see me interview. If you are watching this on Facebook, come over to YouTube and subscribe so that you get notices of when I'm doing live events. I love to talk to people like Kat and anybody who is working on flow states, music, rhythm games, all that good fun, because I see just so much potential in using the full body. So if you know of anybody that is creating experiences that use this, please do send them my way. I think that's all for now.
Cool.
See y'all next time.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Thank you.
Everything's okay, I'm just trying to act my age. Everything's okay.